The cake wasn't even much to look at. It was the cheapest one I could find. Plain vanilla with blue frosting and a few plastic balloons stuck on top. I remember staring at it through the freezer glass for a long time, wondering if it would be enough to make him smile. My son had just turned 7. He never asked for presents, not once. All he wanted was a cake. We'd been living with my parents for 3 months after losing my apartment. Every paycheck from the diner went into an envelope I kept hidden inside an old cereal box. It wasn't a lot, maybe $600, but it was all that stood between us and nothing. Gas money. Shoes for my boy. Maybe enough for a small room somewhere. Then my mother found it. I came home that evening still wearing my grease-stained uniform, the smell of coffee clinging to me. She was at the kitchen table, waving the envelope in her hand like it was evidence. "So you were just going to hide this from your family?" she said. "It's not hiding," I answered carefully. "It's my savings. For rent." She let out a short, cutting laugh. "For rent? Your sister's going to Mexico next week. You should help her. Family helps family." "I've helped her enough," I said quietly. "I'm not giving her my rent money." Her smile vanished. "You think you're better than us now because you serve food at some diner?" I looked down at the box in my hands. "It's my son's birthday. I just wanted to do something nice for him." From the living room, my father's voice cut in. "Stop trying to guilt-trip your mother. Give her the money and quit acting like you're special." "I'm not acting special," I said, my voice trembling. "I'm just tired of paying for everyone else's fun." That's when she stood up, slow, deliberate, her eyes cold and unreadable. "You're not part of this family until you learn respect." I turned toward the door, clutching the cake box tighter. "Then I guess I'm not part of it." The next sound I heard was her footsteps. Quick, heavy, and then the pain hit. A white-hot crack exploded across my face. My head slammed against the refrigerator, a crunch following the impact. Warm blood filled my mouth. The cake hit the floor, frosting splattering across the tiles. My son screamed from the hallway. Mom didn't even flinch. She pointed at me, chest heaving. "Look at you," she hissed. "Ungrateful trash. You think you can just walk out? You owe us everything." My father stormed in and grabbed my arm. "Stop crying," he barked. "You always make things worse." I pressed a shaking hand to my face. It came away red. My nose felt wrong, bent. The room spun. My son clung to my leg, sobbing into my jeans. "Mom, please stop," he cried. For a split second, I thought I saw something like guilt flicker across her face, but it vanished just as fast. "If she knew how to listen," she said coldly, "none of this would have happened." I took my boy's hand and walked straight out the front door barefoot. I didn't even grab my shoes. The night air stung my skin, every breath sharp and shallow. We walked until the house disappeared behind the trees. "Are we in trouble?" he whispered, clutching my arm. "No, baby," I said softly, though my voice shook. "Not anymore." We sat on a park bench near the gas station under the harsh yellow streetlight. I wiped my face with my sleeve, trying to hide the blood. He looked at the ruined cake box in my lap. Most of it was smashed, but one corner had survived. He scooped a bit of frosting with his finger and smiled faintly. "It still tastes good," he said. That broke me. I laughed through the tears and pulled him close until he squealed. I'd lost my home, my savings, maybe even my dignity, but I still had him. When the bleeding slowed, I called my mother from a payphone. She answered like nothing had happened. "You done being dramatic?" she asked. "My nose is broken," I said flatly. "You shouldn't have disrespected me," she replied. "Don't come back until you learn to behave." I hung up. That night, we slept behind the diner where I worked. My manager, George, found us early the next morning. He didn't ask questions, just handed me some ice and said quietly, "You're not going back there, are you?" I shook my head. "Not this time." But what I didn't tell him was that I wasn't planning on surviving their cruelty anymore. I was done living just to endure it. I wanted to end it permanently in a way they'd never forget. They thought breaking me gave them control. But they overlooked one truth. Pain fades. Humiliation disappears. But the memory of the day a mother watched her daughter walk away, bloodied and silent, never does. I was going to make sure that silence haunted them forever. The days that followed blurred together. Exhaustion mixed with disbelief. The ache in my face was nothing compared to the hollow sting in my chest. Every time I caught my reflection in the diner window, the bruise across my nose reminded me what love looked like in that house. My coworkers didn't ask. They just looked at me differently, like they finally saw what I'd been hiding all along. My son stayed quiet too. He didn't ask when we were going home. He just followed me everywhere, fingers hooked around the hem of my jacket as if I might vanish if he let go. One night, while I was counting my tips, he whispered, "Grandma doesn't like us, does she?" I froze. My throat tightened. "No, baby," I said. "She just doesn't understand us." He looked up at me with wide, serious eyes. "Then why do we live there?" I didn't have an answer. The truth was, I didn't know how to escape her gravity. She'd spent my whole life convincing me I couldn't survive without her, that everything I had existed only because of her generosity. I worked, I saved, I planned, but somehow every step forward still ended the same. Me crawling back to her doorstep, begging for peace. This time was supposed to be different. And yet, even after a part of me kept waiting for her to call, to apologize, to sound like a mother again. But that call never came. Instead, my sister began posting pictures online. Palm trees, cocktails, tanned legs. Her laughter caught mid-frame beneath the caption, "Finally free." My stomach twisted when I noticed the name on the post, the credit card company tied to my account. Mom had drained my savings and maxed out my card. That was the moment I broke. Not when she hit me. Not when I bled. Not even when she humiliated me. It was realizing they hadn't just stolen money. They'd stolen my son's childhood, his safety, his peace. That night, I watched him sleep on the diner's worn-out couch, a faint cut on his cheek where Mom's ring had struck him. He never mentioned it. He didn't want to make me sad. I sat there for hours trembling. For years I'd let her chip away at me. My confidence, my voice, even my name. But this time she crossed into something sacred, and somehow that made me stronger. The next morning, I walked into the police station. The officer at the desk looked up. "Can I help you?" "Yes," I said. "I need to file an assault report." He frowned. "Against who?" "My mother." He hesitated, as if I'd said something impossible. But I told him everything, every word, every bruise, every detail. I handed over the medical form the diner manager had helped me complete. He took photos, wrote it all down, then asked, "Do you want to press charges?" I paused. I wanted to. God, I did. But I knew jail wouldn't change her. It would only give her another story to play the victim. "No," I said finally. "I just want it documented so next time, no one can pretend they didn't know." He nodded slowly. "You sure?" "Very." When I walked outside, the air felt lighter, cleaner. Like I'd just broken the first link in a chain that had been strangling me for years. That same week, I found a small one-bedroom apartment. The rent was steep, but the landlord agreed to weekly payments. My son helped me paint the walls, his laughter echoing in the emptiness. We had no furniture, no fridge, not even a bed. But when the lights came on, it felt like the first thing I'd ever truly owned. Mom called once after that. "Your sister says you've been spreading lies," she said, her tone flat. "I haven't said a word," I told her. "But you did break my nose. Hard to hide that." She scoffed. "I told everyone you tripped. No one believes you anyway. You've always been dramatic." I smiled faintly. "Maybe. But this time I'm not staying quiet." There was silence. Then that sharp inhale she always took before striking. "You think you can survive without us? You'll come crawling back like always." "No," I said softly. "You'll be the one looking for me." And for the first time in my life, I hung up before she did. That night, lying beside my son in our freshly painted room, he rested his head on my arm and whispered, "Can we have cake next year too?" I smiled, brushing his hair. "Next year, sweetheart. We'll get the biggest one they've got." But deep down, I was already planning something else, something colder than forgiveness. 'Cause I wasn't just going to move on. I was going to make sure every dollar she stole, every lie she told, every bruise she left became a weight she'd carry forever. And this time she wouldn't see it coming. They thought the worst thing I could do was leave. They were wrong. I kept my head down for months, working double shifts, saving every tip, learning everything about baking from George at the diner. I tested recipes on scraps of paper, experimented with frosting after midnight while my son slept on the couch, and slowly built an idea that could stand on its own. When I opened the bakery, it wasn't some movie moment. Just flour on my apron and a for rent sign in the window. But people came because the cakes tasted honest. Parents brought their kids. A teacher ordered cupcakes for class. A pastor asked for pastries for a funeral lunch. Word spread the only way truth ever does, quietly from one person to another. My mother watched from across town. I knew because her neighbor couldn't stop praising my lemon tarts. Danielle kept posting her beach dinners and cocktails, trying to drown out the comments about my shop. Then she messaged sweet, calculated. "Can we stop by? Just for coffee?" I never replied. 2 weeks before my son's birthday, the company that managed Danielle's office events called. Their caterer had canceled, and they needed someone fast. It was a small send-off luncheon, nothing fancy, just last minute and desperate. I got the order through our catering inbox. The menu mirrored dishes from my parents' anniversary, things my mother loved to brag about. Then I saw the note. Special dessert requested by Mrs. L for family celebration. The address? A block away from the house that used to reek of bleach and entitlement. I wrote back with a polite quote in delivery time, and then added crystal clear terms. Payment up front. No exceptions. A signed contract acknowledging cancellation fees. And the contact had to be the person placing the order. No substitutes. They called. Danielle pleaded. Then Mom called. With that same honeyed voice that used to fool neighbors into sympathy. "We've always supported you," she said. "We paid for your training." She twisted every word into guilt. I repeated the price. Reminded her of the policies. Asked for the deposit. They couldn't pay. The card was maxed out. The corporate account, the same one that once hid my stolen money, was frozen for unpaid invoices. An accounting error, they said. A problem they were used to someone else fixing. My little bakery had never been built for revenge. But I knew how to run one like it, fair and absolute. No deposit, no service. They stood on the other side of that boundary, shouting for favors, demanding the family discount. I listened, then typed one sentence. Deposit not received. Order canceled. Then I closed my laptop and joined my son outside, where he was drawing with chalk on the sidewalk. After that, the invitations stopped. My mother's name no longer carried weight. My father's charm no longer fixed their messes. People who used to look at me with pity began to call for simple things: birthday cakes, funeral trays, school bake sales. They came with gratitude instead of judgment. I never called to gloat. I never posted anything online. I let life itself do the balancing. Their calls went unanswered. Their requests politely declined. Their reputation quietly unraveled in the same town that now knew me for something genuine. One evening my phone buzzed with a private number. I glanced at it, then let it ring. My son laughed at a cartoon in the corner while I washed a pan, humming softly, feeling the quiet rhythm of a life I'd rebuilt piece by piece. When the ringing stopped, the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was full. It was mine.